My name is Wayne Anderson, and I teach music and computers at Greater Miami Adventist Academy. Well, I started here in a different location in first grade. And then I went through 11 grades of Greater Miami Academy, as it used to be called. I taught for 2 years back in the late 1980s, and I was not happy with it, so I went back to graduate school and got a business degree, and then went into business for about over 20 years. But then in 2009, I was released from my job because of the Great Recession, as they called it. And so one of my friends told me about the music position being opened here at Greater Miami Academy. And I went ahead and applied, and they accepted me. So I started teaching here in 2009. I've been a lifelong musician. I started singing in choirs when I was in elementary school. I started learning brass instruments when I was in the 5th grade. I played something called a euphonium all the way from 6th grade all the way through college. I also sang with different choirs throughout my life. And so it's been a lifelong vocation for me. So the 2 years I did teach music, and that was over in Salem, Oregon. But I've been involved with music for most of my life as a vocation. Well, probably my most memorable music experience was actually going to Florida Conference Music Festival when I was in junior high school. And that's where I really heard a full band and really got excited about playing music. Here in my current position, since I've been teaching here, it's probably the alumni weekend that we had that commemorated the 100th year celebration. All of my music groups performed at that particular celebration, and it was a big success. And I enjoyed that event and the musicianship that my students showed. Well, I know most of my students are not going to be professional musicians. So what I'm trying to ignite is the simply love of music. That's how I got into it. I was offered different things, different times to play in church, to play at school. And that's where my excitement about music came from. So what I'm wanting to create with my students is simply a lifelong musician that wants to play an instrument or sing in a choir for the rest of their lives, and whatever level that might be at. Well, GMA started it in a tent behind the Miami Temple Church back in 1912, and it was just a small church school that the Miami Temple Church wanted to have. Then it was in the 1930s that it was moved to its own separate building, and it was called Miami Junior Academy at that time. My parents arrived in Miami in 1955, and then my dad, as one of the only Adventist doctors, got involved with both Hialeah Hospital at the time and GMA as a board member. And he was a part of the school board that moved the GMA from that North Miami location that it was at to an Allapattah location over by Miami-Jackson High School. And also it was moved over there as a junior high school, and then a year later was accredited to be a full academy. So the Greater Miami Academy existed from 1961 all the way to 1985 at the Allapattah location. Then it moved here in 1986, and it has been here ever since. It was built as the structures are pretty much here that were built at that time. But I have to say, when I got here in 2009, it needed some maintenance, and I was pleased to see that my principal, Dr. Luis Cortez, had a vision to really make it a nice place. So he got the Florida Conference to invest money in the school, and it really, when it was built in 1985, there was always a vision to be able to have ball fields and all that kind of stuff, but all the fields behind the school were basically empty fields from 1985 to almost 2010. And it was in 2012 or 13 where Dr. Cortez had a building program that really put in the baseball fields and painted the whole school and put the brick fence all the way around our school and had some other nice trees planted, and it really dressed up the school at that point. Now Dr. Cortez's vision of where he wanted to take Greater Miami Adventist Academy has been picked up by Principal Lorna Leon, and she is the one that's helped sponsor what we call the GYRA project. And what we're wanting to do there is to be able to put in a regulation track and a regulation soccer field in the field that is to the south of the school. And then we're wanting to put in a new elementary wing, so this area that currently both elementary and high school can only be high school, and then the elementary would have their own building. And then finally, I guess the cherry on the cake would be the Performing Arts Center that they're wanting to put in, which would be like a 700-seat auditorium where we could have programs and chapels and events at that place. So I've really been pleased to see that my administrators have wanted to make GMA a real inviting place to be, and I'm proud to work here as I see the development happen here at Greater Miami Adventist Academy.